Myself.
Hey, we're live. What's up, everybody? This
And
is
we're live.
we're live. Where's the little? This is Lizzie Langston. I am the author of the Kitchen and Cosmos publication, where we discover and endlessly talk about what it's like to be a cosmic being in a human body. And I'm with Summer Kester today, who runs the Feral Stack. Kester, hey Kester.
Cust- Custer, like,
Custer, like Custard's army. Okay, got it.
I know, like luster.
Like luster. You have a lot of luster. Could you tell us about the Feral Stack and you? Introduce yourself.
Um, Hi, I'm Summer, and hi, Mom. My mom's on. This is my first live, possibly my last. We'll see how it goes.
Day.
I have gone feral since we can thank the pandemic for that. And let's see, I live in out the road in Juneau, Alaska, also known as Tlingit Ani. And let's see, we are the feral is has been an ongoing journey, trying to figure out where I belong in culture, not seeing a place for myself,
Yeah.
always trying to conform to and not and failing and going living in other cultures and shapeshifting to fit that one and then not finding belonging and doing it many times. So and now I've finally got to the place in my life where I think a lot of us are who are in our 40s or maybe older or younger, where we're just, we're just going to try to actually just see what it feels like to be ourselves, right? Show up authentically, whatever that means. So that is the feral, that is the freedom, right?
Yes, and I remember when I was first getting to know you through the Feral Stack. You talked about your parenting life and some of the challenges there. You talked about the land you live on, and can you tell everybody where you live and your lifestyle a little bit? I don't think you realize how yummy that is for the rest of the world that doesn't get to live in Alaska.
Can you guys see like how green
Ah!
it is? So I live in the
Welcome,
Tongass,
everyone.
which it's the largest temperate rainforest in the world and the largest rainforest in North America. It has been stewarded by the Akwán and the Takuquan for thousands and thousands of years, and they still maintain a really strong presence here. And my lifestyle is I'm a teacher, and I am full when I'm not teaching. I'm full time parenting a neurodivergent child as well as a performing artist, and I like to call myself an artivist because I use my art and my voice for activism.
You do.
And we can talk more about that too, because that has been also a journey of shapeshifting. I'm a shapeshifter, and I like to consider myself an alien and a culture disruptor because
Yeah.
we're we got to do it, right? So if
Yeah.
we don't do it, who's gonna? So
Yeah.
yeah, because not there are things that could be better. So I have to
To
plug
say
my
the least.
computer back in.
To say the least. Actually, that leads us to our topic for today. Do you want to say it since I just blanked on it in my brain, but I know you know how to stay awake
Yes,
without dying?
I I know because it is how to stay awake without destroying your mind. Did you just say that?
I like how you said it. That's why I invited you to say it.
And the only reason I remember to say that is because I was literally staying awake last night until like 4 in the morning, thinking about this. And oh wow, I am staying awake. Um, yeah.
Okay.
So
How
go
to
ahead.
stay awake. And when we say how to stay awake without, losing your mind or going insane, we mean how to keep listening and stay attuned to the field of the humans, how to stay tuned into what's going on, whatever that looks like for you. And we do not shame anybody who needs to step away for however long, whether it's from consuming news or whatever it is. But it's how to stay engaged in how humanity's doing, but not lose your sanity. And that's actually really hard because sometimes what we see leads us to wonder if there's even a point, and we can go to jaded and we can go to hopeless. And so, what we want to do today is talk about the full spectrum of listening and hearing and being a present human on this planet, But the ways we can kind of wobble there and get a little bit lost and sucked in, and it can actually make us less functional and less able to do our part and contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the flip side, on the other side of that spectrum, maybe we can just spiritually bypass forevermore. I do think that it doesn't always look the same. There's no perfect balance. Sometimes you do need to go a little bit, I'm not going to listen. And sometimes you do need to get a little sucked in. And sometimes you might feel like you have a perfect balance. But that's what we wanted to talk about today, because we are two women who do desire to disrupt systems that oppress the humans. My work with The Kitchen and the Cosmos, I've been a life coach for 8 years. I am actually a psychic medium as well. And so by nature, the work that I do with people is really disruptive. We are literally taking after generations, the repression of our inner sovereignty and inner authority, and we're bringing it back online. I do that in my mystery school, Threshold Keepers, through guided journeys. I'm doing it with clients all the time. So I thought we could start there, actually, because I did a free, I'm going to call it a reading with Summer, which she was, I don't even remember how the offer was, but I was like, hey, Summer, I have this gift thing, and, we both are disruptors, and you're a spicy activist and such a great writer, and I'm just trying to get more experience with helping people with these gifts. Could I do, or, if you ever want to do a reading, I'm here. And then we just did like a couple weeks ago. So I thought we could start there, because it really woke you up in some ways, it sounds like.
Yeah, it was transformative. So I have been, since I was a little girl, trying to figure out where I come from, right? Trying to figure out where actually is my origin. What are my roots? I've never really felt rooted in Juneau, Alaska. Growing up here, I grew up here. And so that's why I always was living in other cultures, and I studied cultural anthropology, and I married a Venezuelan and moved and built a business in Costa Rica and brought him back to California and tried to build a life there, living in a Venezuelan community in Southern, etc. And fast forward 15 years later, I'm back in Juneau, Alaska with a different husband, Alaskan, third generation fisherman. He's very rooted. I'm like, this is it. I've come full circle. I feel home. I have friends here. I instantly got pregnant, and the rest is history, right? But not, because once again, I'm like back in middle school. It's a very able-bodied place, and my body is always failing me. And there's just many other things happening where I once again am feeling so like rootless and not sure where I belong and what my place is. And of course, the political situation from the last 8 years is not helping, right? Because I mean, I am the other, right? I'm not the other. There's lots of others, but I'm not mainstream white 80s bro bra with the strong body like you're supposed to be in Juneau, Alaska. And so looking for origins and never knowing my history and roots. And I think a lot of white folks deal with that, right? Like Bayo Akamolafi is one of my favorite writers. He says that white people are oh my God, I'm losing the quote. We're cultural orphans, essentially, is what he says.
Yeah.
And many of us are not. Many are rooted into our ancestry and our history and our European roots, but I have zero connection at all. So just trying to figure out, like, did I come from the sun? Am I from outer space? But like, and then Lizzie was able to, I've been following Lizzie for a while. I love her. If you guys haven't been listening to her podcasts on Substack, they're so great. She's such a great speaker, which is why I'm so glad you're here, Lizzie, because I am not a speaker. I'm a writer. I need lots of time to revise, obviously. And everything she says has been speaking to me so much. She speaks about ego death and the way she's able to connect through people to the things that we can't connect to sometimes. Like, what is that, 23andMe? Like, some people are finding their roots through 23andMe. Some people are even like going back to the countries. I can't go to Europe right now, right? That's just not a possibility. And even if I did, I would be like the tourist. So there, but she was able to, on this guided experience, help me connect to those roots that have been buried deep in my history. And some of that was connection with the land, because she said that there are women in my lineage who were connected with the land, who, and I don't want to talk too much about that, but it's something that I've always felt in my body and in my bones when I'm out in nature, like this is home, right? The wilderness, this is my home.
Mhm.
Um, and and to know that there was actually that there are some people in, anyway, just to, yeah, to be able to connect to that part of myself that I has always been a big question mark and a void. And
Mm.
but I always knew there was a truth in there, that there was some kind of land connection. And to see, for example, growing up in Juneau, Alaska, the indigenous community here is actually very strong, and they have been stewarding this land for thousands of years. And my son just came out of a cultural camp, a Tlingit cultural camp. He was like the only white boy, and he was a guest, and it was just so empowering to see these Native Alaskan children who were connecting with their roots and and so much. Their culture is land based, right?
Right.
And it's just wondering, like, what couldn't it be nice if I also had that in my blood? But I don't know what that is. I don't know the land, so, of
Yeah.
Europe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That connection to the land, it once upon a time existed in all the humans. And I just finished writing an essay with my business partner for Threshold Keepers about empire and the way that um, empire severed all kinds of people from the land mysteries, from understanding the land, from syncing with the cycles of the land. And one of the parallels we drew in the article is that we also have cycles in our psyche, which is one of the reasons land and us go so well together, is because we're also cyclical beings. Even if you're not a female bodied being, our psyche goes through ego attachment and then ego unattachment, or coming undone, death. Then you sit in the void, and then you rebirth or reemerge. And we do that all lifelong. This was studied in the ancient mystery schools. So I just want to validate that that inner desire for land is so real. And one of the things that was so beautiful about your session, I'm not going to share more than you want to share, but was that you had members of your, ancestry come forward and be like, hey, we want to help you reconnect with the gifts of our lineage. And, time will tell like what those are and how that's going to happen. But I think that's what I love about the gift of mediumship, which I actually believe is not just something unique to me. I think it's something all people have connection to. And that's another thing we were severed from, is part of our cosmic nature. That's another thing that Empire did. But anyway, yeah, our ancestors, I have an article on this, but it's like they stand at the ready to, especially in these times, to teach us right relationship with the earth. And part of that, for those of us that are white, is to respect the pre-existing cultures and relationships and stewardship of indigenous cultures and the land. And also part of that is maybe going a bit farther back in our lineage and wondering, yeah, where did our ancestry, where was the land, I guess, ours, or where was it connected to? And all of that. And so I feel that in you. It's one of the themes that kind of weaves throughout your writing, that cultural, orphanism. I was going to say cultural orphanism. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now. So yeah, is there anything else that, whether you share what happened during the session or even just, or the reading or afterwards, what came of this? What is something new? I remember the cool log moment. But is there anything else you wanted to share, and how has that helped you feel more hope that you could belong? And I will say, I think the theme of belonging is part of how we stay awake in such a hard world, is when we feel a sense of place and rootedness and belonging, whatever that looks like. And so I'm just curious how that has panned out for you. It's been a couple weeks now.
Yeah, well, I do feel like I belong more on Earth. because of that, because you helped me connect to that mysterious lineage that was just a big question mark that
Yeah.
was lost over in translation to the Americas. And I have been doing a lot more witchy shit.
Oh, I love
We
the
had
witchy.
solstice,
Tell us.
so my house is now like filled with like altars. um,
Yes.
I mean, it's manifestationing what it's intentioning, right? Ask me how many crystals I'm carrying in my bra right now. So
I
I
love it.
yeah, it feels good to feel a little more rooted.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to speak to something you just said, and I know you've kind of been sharing little peeks of it in your notes, which is ritual, or if you want to call it ceremony. Witchy shit is another great word. um, if it's cool with you, I want to just
Mhm.
share a little bit about what I've learned and am still learning about how, like, why do we as humans want to do ritual, and why are we benefited by it? If we weren't benefited by it, I don't know that we would do it.
Mhm.
And I don't mean an extractive benefit. I mean the whole experience. What does it do for us? So think
Mhm.
about that for you. I'd love to hear what it does for you and how that plays a role in your ability to kind of stay awake on this planet
Mhm.
as a human. But I know, like I was saying earlier in the live, we are very alive. We are alive. Hello, if you didn't know, we're alive. And so in the psyche or in the unconscious, so we've got our conscious mind and then we've got our unconscious mind. And a lot of times people think of the unconscious as a storage unit or gray matter. But the unconscious is actually it's like a forest. You've got your inner child, you've got your inner teenager, you've got your inner infant, you've got all of these personas and psyches, and it's an entire landscape. And it communicates with our conscious mind. And when we do ritual, we basically, this is according to me, and I'd love to hear according to you, but it feels for me like when I do a ritual of any kind, any sort of witchy shit, like whether it's lighting a candle and dancing under the moon, maybe I'm writing down something and burning it. It could be a lot more
Mhm.
ornate than that, whatever it is. But when I stop what I'm doing and I intentionally do that, I feel like I step up to the threshold between the worlds, between the outer world and my inner one. And not my inner conscious one, my inner unconscious one, the one that
Mhm.
always has stuff going on that I'm not always aware of. And when I do ritual, it's like almost like a meeting place, like a liminal space in between worlds. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it kind of helps my inner world feel synced with the outer, and when I say the outer world, I don't just mean like what's going on in my life, but also the moon phases or the seasons or the
Mhm.
wind that's pushing past me, like that oneness. It brings us back to that. It gives us a chance to maybe enter back into oneness for a moment
Mhm.
when we live
Yeah.
in such a world of separation, which is so painful for our souls.
Yes. You put it so well, and for me, it helps me go back into my body as well to check in with my nervous system, and that's another thing that I always felt disconnected from growing up was
Mm.
my body.
Yeah.
Um, and music and dance was like the one way I could connect successfully with that,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is another form of like ritual for me.
Absolutely, it is.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about drums. I learned recently that drums have been used since like the earliest human days, to go to that threshold place between the conscious and the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Drumming, like, literally opens up your brain, changes your brain waves. S- Just like the more I learn about how to live a happy life, the more I'm like, the indigenous people really just were doing a great job. We really know, I don't mean we, but if they could have just not been disturbed.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that brings us naturally to how do we maintain our sensitivity, okay? Our awakeness,
Hmm.
as conscious humans? How do we be with that and be with the pain and the suffering and the news and whatever it is? And I'm just going to give a disclaimer that the two of us are just still trying and figuring it out. This is more of a dialogue and a conversation versus a lesson plan. So just you're telling you right now. Hopefully some wisdom will come through, but it's messy.
I was hoping you would have the answer because I only come with questions.
Yeah, I will share something that helps me get through. I mean, all I can share is what's working for me. I would never dare say that it could work for someone else, but I can share what has been helpful to me. I can start there if that feels good. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, please do.
I'm ready to receive.
Okay.
Bring it.
Oh gosh. Well, I'll start with a dream I had. I have a lot of dreams. And one of the dreams, and this feels like it could be, I don't know, controversial. Maybe it's my witch wound speaking, but in the dream, I was shown Elon Musk and my team was like, they were showing me that like he's a being from he's fulfilling a certain role. And they didn't show me any other people. But it was the idea, I didn't get a lot of information, but I came away with it being like, oh, and I started to think maybe in one aspect, we are playing some roles here together as humans. Maybe some of us have chosen to play protagonists, some of us have chosen to play antagonists, and that in that juxtaposition, we're going somewhere together. But that doesn't mean it's not hard and that real shit doesn't happen. And again, that could be a massive oversimplification, and used at the wrong moment or the wrong time, it could also be a very inhumane bypass of real lived experience. And so one thing I want to say when it comes to staying awake and conscious and also really not bypassing the world is that there's a time and a place to like zoom out and take maybe spiritual frames. And then there's a time and a place to stay present with the grief and to sit in the humanity, right? This is why I named my newsletter Kitchen and Cosmos. Like the kitchen represents the 3D, the human, the humane, the lived experience, our bodies, our nervous systems, trauma, memories, relationships, intimacy. And then the cosmos is some of those more spiritual frames and the greater questions of why are we all here and where we're going, and maybe there is a purpose and stuff. And I think it's so important that they stay together, that there's an and. Number one, because the spiritual frames help me carry the grief, but then carrying the grief helps me stay plugged in and be of service and be motivated to do something, which I think is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is my first pass at it. Your turn. And I'd love you guys to put in the chat too, if you have any things that really work for you.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying about like the purpose of the grief. And this last year, I just was full of so much rage. And I know it's really common. They say perimenopause is coming of rage. But I feel like there's a purpose for that too. And my friends are like, well, you can take HRT for that. And I'm so happy that they are working through that, because it can be all consuming too and really toxic. And who wants to sit in that all the time? But at the same time, I believe there's a purpose for the sacred rage, right?
Yes.
Gives us the fire to burn shit down so we can build something new.
Yes.
And same with the grief. And I like what you were saying, how you were presented with, I'm sorry that you had a dream about him. But he serves a purpose because you're bringing up some ideas that everything in our life is a lesson, right? Serves a, I don't want to, I hate, like you said, I don't want to romanticize adversity, and some things we can't explain and some things just shouldn't happen at all. But I still think like about the hardship I've gone through and how each of those things was a lesson, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, for example, if we're going back to Elon Musk, maybe the fact that he just became a trillionaire is, we just have to look at it as like, what is this trying to teach us? What is this showing us, right? What can we do with this? This is the maybe this is the catalyst for this culture rising up and saying, you know what, we're going to do something about this. Finally, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody should have $1 trillion, right?
Yeah.
When we can't even like afford to give our teachers a freaking pension in the state.
Yeah.
And we can't, and we have like 25% of the positions are unfilled of teaching positions in Alaska. I had to pull my daughter out of public school because she couldn't get enough para support. And meanwhile, Elon Musk is sitting anyway. So,
No, it's devastating.
so maybe that is, yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you, when you're feeling really big feelings, what helps you move them through your body?
Mm. I had some big feelings when Renee Good was shot. Sorry if that's triggering family. But I had just gotten, called out by MAGA, and they were trying to figure out my name and putting it on the internet. And the Trump administration had just posted the NPSM 7 memorandum saying that anyone who spoke out against, who was Antifa, who was anti-fascist, was a domestic terrorist, who was anti-American, anti-family. Like, what does that even mean? Would be considered a terrorist. And this is Palantir and AI surveillance and all this stuff was coming at the same time. And I'm thinking like that could be me, right? And I have somewhat like if I was gone, my children would be. I can't even imagine. So I have to. So I was feeling very vulnerable and nervous and using my platform and speaking out and worried about that. And then Renee Good was shot. And protesters were being arrested for op-eds, right? Teachers were losing their jobs because they posted a tweet about what was that guy's name? Charlie Kirk. And then when Renee was shot, that I was just so full of fear and rage because then the government started to try to say it was her fault, right? And so I did. Somebody had this idea. I turned on my music as loud as I could in my kitchen. I put on my like kids' disco lights, and I just had the craziest dance party all by myself, like full on using my whole body, just like getting all that shit out. And afterward, I felt completely. I was crying as the more I did this, the more I cried, and I'm like getting emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it was such a good release. It was like all those feelings just fell out through my tears and my sweat, and I was able to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And not even just move on, but I'm sure you took something from the grief, right? Like when we descend into the grief, we come out different. We come out new, kind of like when the earth rains and then there's that yummy smell afterwards. I feel like grief does that. Like it pours down and it's heavy and it's hard and you can't see where you're going. But then when it's done, it's like, oh, I see the earth new. I am new. And so I would imagine that you didn't just grieve, but you also alchemized the grief through moving your body, through allowing yourself to feel the rage. So maybe that's the takeaway right there is that if the feelings ever feel too big, they might be, but when you move your body, it feels like it gets bigger. When you move, it's like you play with your surface area and somehow there's expansion and your energy body and your physical body can kind of like pull that energy and move it. And the earth, our beautiful feral earth will just, if you send it to, it will just take it.
Yes.
And continue, help you alchemize it too.
Yes. Another one thing I want to add, my therapist, she had me do this visualization where she was like, close your eyes and imagine roots coming out of your feet into the earth, intertwining with the roots of the earth, like how trees, their roots connect to each other and they send, what are the messages and the nutrients to each other under the soil. And she said, feel that as well and rooted with the trees, with the earth. That really helps root me as well when I'm feeling like out of control and spiraling. Yeah. And walking in nature, of course.
Yeah. Walking and it's been hit or miss for me lately, but trying to gather with other women in circle and have presence together. Sometimes my own attempts to do ritual or to be present can get a little bit foiled by my busy mind or interruptions. And so setting aside day and times to meet with somebody else, whether it's one other person or a handful of people or an online community, can also be nice and rebellious too.
Yeah, for sure.
And help you feel rooted. So I've kind of seeing a theme here. Let's kind of review, Summer. We've got connecting with your ancestry in whatever way that looks like for you, whether it's working with somebody who can reliably and consistently pull through to the other side of the veil, such as a shaman or a medium or something like that. Or it could be just doing a ritual and calling them into your dreams, inviting them to be with you in the dream time, to send you signs, to talk with you, journaling and free writing, and seeing if you can hear anyone else's thoughts come through. And so we had the ancestry was part of it. And then we also had nature and walking and giving it to the earth, putting it out your feet. We also had movement and dance. But when you move your body, its ability to feel gets bigger. And so anytime an emotion feels just overwhelming or even paralyzing, it can start with movement. And I want to say on that front that sometimes sometimes we can be traumatized by waves of emotion. We can be in a trauma response. And so one of the things that's really helpful for me, if I cannot even get myself to stand up and dance, or like movement doesn't feel available yet, is I will lay on my belly on the ground. I try to do it on a yoga mat because it's nice. And so my face is down on the earth, my body's laid out, and I'm just slapping the ground like a tantrum. And then I'm kicking my feet. And so I kick and slap literally just like a toddler would. And it turns out it's really, really regulating, which is probably why they naturally do it.
Wow.
But that's also one that if I'm kind of shut down, paralyzed, freeze response kind of a thing, which can happen. That's one of my favorites, is I just lay on my belly, and sometimes I just lay there for a while. But even the act of being on the earth kind of starts the release. And then it's like, might even just be like one finger, and then it's like a hand, and then and then from there I might do some stretching and whatever. But trusting your body to be able and a vehicle to move things through is a big one. Okay, Danny said, when I get caught up in everything that upsets me in the world, it helps me to remember that I have a safe place within me. I love that. I remember that I am safest with myself. Ritual helps, going out in nature, connecting human to human, prioritize inner safety. That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you,
Danny.
Yeah, and Amy said she cries a lot, which is so helpful. Never underestimate the power of a good cry. Danny, your comment made me think of the book called Self-Help by Gabrielle Bernstein, or even just Internal Family Systems Therapy. But learning how to know the different parts of you and how to find your true self versus your wounded selves, your protector selves. Because our wounded ones, they continue to wound us. Not because they're trying to, they're just trying to overcompensate and protect. And so if you ever feel like your internal dialogue is toxic, learning a little bit about parts work, and they call it self-energy. But I really loved the book Self-Help by Gabrielle Bernstein for that. What else? Okay, Amy said, when I'm very anxious, I lie flat on the floor on your rug. It's very on the rug. It's very grounding. Yes, I've also heard of those. I'm going to forget what they're called. But it's like a yoga mat, but it has copper wire in it and things that are even more grounding, and like ground up crystals. I'm not going to remember what they're called. Anyway, I've heard infrared lights are awesome. But thank you for your vulnerable shares, Summer. That was really, really beautiful. What else? Are there any questions too, if you guys in the chat, like if you want to do a little problem solving, we're happy to. I mean, we're not experts by any means, but we got like 70 years together, maybe under our belts, 75 years. Got Some wisdom.
I will say I deleted social media. Well, then I had to put it back on again, but I deleted it long enough to get out of the habit of looking at it, because every time I would look at it, I would just, oh, my nervous system, the news on this outrage and fear. I mean, that's pretty much what fuels the algorithm. Um, but at the end, then I also am debating, like, well, but maybe I need to be connected to that spiky side of me so I can get out there, right? And get back out there and shouting still, like making a difference, because now I'm kind of like retreating and it feels good, but I'm still bothered by how that's just continuing to let the status quo keep status quoing.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. It sounds like you're saying you want to do something, you want to contribute, but sometimes the act of learning about the context in which you would contribute is actually damaging to you, to where you have nothing left to give.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I think that comes, that is where self-attunement is actually a form of activism, right? If you think about it, being attuned to yourself. If you are not attuned to yourself and you are always reacting in whatever the emotion is, even if it's from a really good place, but if you've lost your own center, then where does that leave us? Where do we draw from? Right? Where do we get inspiration from? Where do we get our awesome ideas from to do better, to contribute? So it's not like it's wrong to feel strongly about something, but it's also not wrong to cocoon and take care of yourself, because we can't move faster than our own healing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Even if we love the world and we want to, like, it does take a full team effort, and it's not a one-man show. And so, or one woman show or one person show. So anyway, what does that feel like to you? Is there any part of you or anyone else that does, I don't know, does it resonate? Do we agree? Do we not agree? Want to talk about it?
I agree. And I think that's, yeah. I mean, I feel like so many people feel that way. That's part of the reason why this country has a hard time facing down the powers that be, because so many of us are still trying to just get regulated like that to the point where we can. So many of us are depleted because of the way the culture, society, the systems are set up. Anyway, I guess it's just the Ouroboros, right? The snake eating its tail. The endless.
I also think that we're at a time where there is a time and a place to process shock and disgust. And so sometimes what activism looks like is the alchemy part, where you're taking in what you've just seen or witnessed or heard about, and you're running it through your system. And that is our superpower as humans, right? AI doesn't have a body. We have this body. And when we allow that input to run through our system, that's when new perspectives are formed. That's when we might even have an ego death and become somebody new. That's when we grieve. That's when we move the mountains, is when we are willing to feel it. But feeling can take time, and it definitely takes energy. It definitely takes energy. And so, I guess that's what I was trying. Sometimes we got to slow down to speed up. What I mean by this is a phrase in the world of business and scaling companies. I remember learning it from this gal that just was doing really well in business. And that was one of her philosophies. It's like, sometimes we've got to slow down and reorganize to then have a leap forward. Anyway, that's one of the premises behind the mystery school, the work Threshold Keepers that I do, is like, of course we want to get out there and make change, and we should be looking for those opportunities. And sometimes what needs to happen in order for us to do that effectively is we need to take what we've seen. We need to maybe have ourselves an ego death, maybe be like, wow, the world isn't what I thought it was. I need to take that in for a minute. or a
Mhm.
day or a month and process that.
Mhm.
And while you're processing something, somebody else just processed something and they're out there
Yeah.
pushing for a better world, right? And we're all just like doing it together. And as long as your
Yeah.
heart is really genuinely there, I think we've got to rest in that and be okay
Yeah.
with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That resonates.
Okay.
And that's piggybacking off of what Danny Levy says when she says we cannot be on all the time. Reducing social media and the news is so important. Think of what happens when you don't take time for yourself as a parent. What happens?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot be there for our children. The same thing goes for the world. Slowing down is more effective before we fall or drop completely. When you feel like overwhelm is coming on you, slow down. This is prevention.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And it
Yeah.
also reminds me what you when you did my reading, you said like as far as the writing goes, it's there needs to be not only like what we're responding to and reacting to, but also where we're going. Like there has
Vision.
to be what's that?
A vision.
Right.
A
That
vision of
needs to
the
be
world.
part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, or what did you take from it, or what did you understand with that? Yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, the same thing goes with activism, right? We can't just be responding to what we're seeing happening. We need to envision the new paradigm that we want to create. And that's the hope, right? The lesson is always hope. I mean, that's why Obama like harnessed our imagination so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Mm-hmm.
hope.
Yeah.
um, of a better world. It sounds cliche and cheesy, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that's how you either activate people through shock and horror, which is definitely a strategy that definitely works,
Hmm.
or you activate them, including yourself, through vision of what could be and
Hmm.
getting activated to build that and pitch in and help with that. And I remember that coming through really clearly when we were doing your reading. It felt like from a grandmother figure or somebody else who, there'd been a few other things shared, and that was just one of them.
Hmm.
It was definitely wisdom. But that, yeah, for any of you all who are trying to figure out how you can contribute, I think all of us want to be asking ourselves that question. And I would just ask, if you're not sure the answer to that question or you're still evolving it, you can always just think about what vision of a future potential really lights you up.
Hmm.
And what if you could get serious about that and thorough about it? And then so here's the present day, here's the future that you want to see. Like maybe it's a future where all whales are protected. Okay. So then you work backwards, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps till today. And then you just start talking about it and teaching on it and asking people to join you, right? Inviting people to action. I think that call to action, it's, simple business principle, but if you want to start a movement, every single thing you put out, there needs to be a call to action. It's just an invitation. But that would be my offering with that
Hmm.
is, yeah. And I really believe that those desires and those visions in us, I really feel like we were born with them, or they're part of our destiny or our purpose. And so it's serious. It's not just playful or imaginative.
Hmm.
It's like that's how building something different starts. That's how consciousness rises.
I feel like that's a good segue to Costa Rica.
Let's talk about it. We
Because
both lived in
if
Costa
you want to talk
Rica.
about vision of like paradise, you wanted to know. I mean, Lizzie and I just found out that we both lived in Costa Rica. And it's not every day you meet somebody that, a white girl from the United States that has lived in Costa Rica. So I, I will just say that when I lived there, it was sublime. The literacy rate was much higher than the US. Voting was a national holiday. Healthcare was free. What else? The police, it was said, didn't even carry guns. It was that peaceful. You couldn't even buy a car because the tax on the car was 100%. It was the value of the car. which was such a pain in the ass, but it was one of the reasons that Costa Rica had the highest percentage of protected land in the world, like per acre, right?
Wow.
20%. And when you go to the country, you feel it instantly. It just smells different. It's so biodiverse. It's
Yeah. There,
so rich.
I call it the vulva of the earth.
Yes.
Isn't it though? It's like
It's
the
like
soil is
Avatar.
like forever squishy. So nutritious.
Oh my gosh. Talk about like the rain. So many colors. Yeah, it's like the Tongass, but tropical. Like I live in the Tongass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you move there?
Oh, well, let me tell you. It's kind of a crazy story. So the year was 2020. And I think maybe at the end of 2019 we'd been thinking about something like this. No, wait, the year would have been 2021. Yeah, sorry. In 2020 we'd started thinking about moving away, which a lot of people did, right? That, what did they call it? COVID fever or travel fever or quarantine fever, or I don't know. And so yeah, but it also didn't feel just superfluous or something. It felt like a calling from within. It felt meaningful, which is I think why it ended up happening. So in 2021, we, like in the spring, we sold everything and got our passports and said goodbye to our extended families in the States that summer. And then by, I think, June, we had moved down to, it's called Junquial, northeast, no, sorry, northwest coast. And we're able to, because it was the off season, we were able to stay in this, not mansion, but large home for pretty affordable, which was really great. And so we stayed there for a while. But we did it, in hindsight, I can say that I don't know how some of my little girl trauma would have surfaced had I not been so far away from family. I grew up Mormon, so this is high demand religion, and the actual physical lack of proximity of being so far away really created a lot of safety for my nervous system that I don't think I had the ability to create on my own. Like today, I live a quarter mile from some people in my life, you know, that it might have been harder to have relationships with at one time in my life. And I am fine. Like I have internal safety. I love who I am. I love my authentic self, all of that. But at this time, my authentic self was just trying to emerge. And I didn't know that. I thought I was in my authentic self. But in 2020, the year before we moved to Costa Rica, is when my two grandmothers had died pretty close to each other. And I saw and talked to them in a Reiki session. And then the door was blown open, my third eye. And I've been a medium since 2020.
Wow.
So it was also a time where I could go and integrate these changes I had I remember walking through the forest in Costa Rica, and I was just me and my dog, and it was a long walk, a beautiful day. And it was one of the very first times too that I saw land spirits. Like there are spirits that stay with the land, especially indigenous peoples, the elders. Like I saw two different tribal families that were just guarding the land, and they were on it. And I just like walked past them and I could see them clear as day, like in my mind's eye. It was palpable. So anyway, I'm so grateful I went. But yeah, I would say we ended up going through a business loss and a lawsuit. We were sued because we couldn't pay rent on this brick and mortar company because the government wasn't allowing people in the building, and it was a co-working space. And so the way you make your money, your whole business model, is how many people you can put in the building. And we were literally restricted by the law at 20% capacity. So we couldn't make money. So then the day the protections ended, we were sued. And it turned out that being in Costa Rica gave us sort of an upper hand in the legal issues that followed. So yeah, I don't know. I just know we were being guided because it ended up being wonderful to be there, and a deeply spiritual and feminine awakening that I experienced while there that had started in 2020, but I had the safety and the space to really do that. I also felt, I read a book while I was there called Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson, PhD.
Yes, love her.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that broke my Mormon shelf. That was I mean, I had been, ever since my psychic awakening, there had been a lot of cognitive dissonance because I was experiencing like flashes from past lives and I was talking to dead people, and none of that was really okay or even in accordance with the doctrines of the Mormon church. And so I was already struggling and it was already hanging on by a thread. But when I read Mary's gospel, Mary Magdalene's gospel, and I realized that the church never put it in the Bible, even though it was found all these years ago, I was like, ouch, I'm out. Also, I knew when she said there is no such thing as sin, like I knew that was true, just knew it. So yeah, that's me in Costa Rica. And we lived there for 7 months.
Wow. That's so cool.
What
Would
about
you
you?
cons
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, would you consider that like an ego death that you experienced while,
Yes.
I mean, what a beautiful place to hold that, right? Like that's where
Yes.
you want to be in the void because, and especially reading that book and Danny, your daughters were born there. Oh, you have this connection. You guys
Hi,
should
Bob.
check out Danny Levy, by the way.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. So my story was I just graduated from college and I had no idea what to do. And I went on a trip because it's kind of common in Southeast Alaska. We get these PFDs. The government pays us to live here in the fall, and Alaska Airlines has all sorts of like deals to travel that time of year to get our money from the anyway. And I just worked for the legislator and made this money living with my parents and my friend Heidi and I decided to go to Costa Rica for like a couple weeks for the fall before we jumped back into work again to escape the like the 3 months of the fall are just like so miserable in Juneau, Alaska. And so we went to Costa Rica and and I discovered salsa music, and she was like a natural surfer and I was a natural salsa dancer, and I sucked at surfing and she couldn't dance, but we balanced each other out. And then I met this guy, and I spoke fluent Spanish by then already. And I met this guy, and he took me to this plot of land on Jaco, which is the town closest to the capital, which has since turned into what they call Acapulco's, like high rises. But it wasn't like that. It was this little village of 5,000 dirt roads. It was adorable. It was really accessible to the airport, international airport. And it was like this burgeoning little tourist town. And he was local, he's Costa Rican, and he took me to this plot of land on the beach, and he said, "This is an old pizzeria, and it's for sale." And you could see like the overgrown wood fire burning pizza oven. And he says, "I have the liquor license, which is $30,000. I already got it for free. I have all the connections to all the distributors for booze and yada yada," because he worked at a bar in the capital. It's like, "I got all the connections. I just need a little bit of cash to buy the property." It would be, and at that point, there was no bar or pizza or food joint anywhere on the beach in Jaco, the town closest to the capital, which is now like this huge tourist town. And I could see, like, oh my God, this would be an amazing investment in business. And so I was like, and already he was just looking for a business partner, and we were friends. And and so I went back to the United States and I continued to work, and I took a business 101 class, and calling him on the phone because I could already tell that Costa Rica was like paradise on earth because of all the things that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And it was a place that I just, not only like intellectually was it a good idea because of all those reasons, but just the vibe. Everyone there is just pura vida, right? Pura
Mm.
vida is pure life, and it means hello, goodbye, and you're welcome, and thank you, and everything is pure life, pura vida, and you're so embodied in Costa Rica, and people were so wonderful and kind, and it felt like this is the best way to live. This is the vision this is the world I want for everybody. This is
Yeah.
the world I want to live in. And having grown up in Juneau, Alaska, where it's like, I'm always cold and wasn't really sure how my body fits, this place felt like it fit me really well.
Mhm.
And so I took the business class. I built a 100-page business plan, calling him, getting all the deets and stuff. And it had us breaking even within a year. And I sold my car and I saved up money and I bought a one-way ticket to Costa Rica. And that's how I ended up there. And the rest is a whole other story, which is, I'm not going to go into here, but that's how I ended up there. And then I ended up finding that business didn't work out because when I got back to Costa Rica, he had already he started to kind of go downhill a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. He got kind of mixed up in some stuff. But then I met another guy who ended up becoming the man that I would marry.
Wow.
And we built a business, a different one, and he was the Venezuelan. And then eventually we married, I brought him back to the United States, got him the visa, eventually the green card. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Wow. You've lived a lot of life in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool to hear. I'd never heard all that story.
There's a lot more to it. That's why I wrote a book.
Can we play a book, please? What book is this?
Oh, the book. Well, right now it's with two different agents. I'm still seeking representation. I've been doing some querying. And the title, it's a working title. It's Fathom, a Memoir of Shapeshifting. And it's about shapeshifting through many different selves and iterations of myself. Yeah. Ooh. Before finally returning to Alaska. Yeah.
When you think about it, I'm not trying to detract from that concept. I just want to say we're kind of all shape-shifting because we have this dual nature. We've got our cosmic self and then our human self, and the ego attaches to an identity structure and then it lets go and our cosmic self comes through, and then our ego and then and it's like this perpetual circle. And so it kind of always feels like between the ego being static and then letting go of its grip and doing that our whole lives long, mm-hmm. that we're always kind of shape-shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Shape-shifting between more solid identity and liminal identity, and solid identity and fluid, liquid identity,
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I can't wait to read your book. You'll have to keep us all posted on when it comes out and such.
Will do.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. We're going to wrap up. This has been so fun. Good job, Summer. You did your first Substack Live.
Lizzie, you are the best. I will do this with you anytime. Thank you so much for guiding.
You're welcome. Thank you she went on a walk in the rain just before we got on here, and she came to the video with dewdrops in her hair, nice and feral,
I couldn't even find my makeup. I'm like, that's too authentic. I did last minute, but you can't tell. I look like a ghost. It's the lighting. But I
love this about you, your ferality. Thank you for sharing it with me today.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. You guys, everyone, go check her out. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and stay awake. Do what you need to do, though, to take care of yourself while you are that conscious human. And if we all do that, we're going to be okay. We're going to keep moving the needle forward together. So you're not alone. And if you feel alone, come into our communities, come say hi, DM us, find a friend on one of our pages. And yeah, just belonging is also kind of a mentality too. Like it's both. It's like it's the land and identity. And it's also sometimes just a blatant, stubborn choice. Like, even though I don't have any evidence for it, I belong today, and I'm going to find evidence for the idea of me belonging today. So we invite you to radically believe that you belong today, too, and always.
Yeah. Hi, Nature. Hi, Amy. Hi, Steve. Hi, Danny. Hi, Mel. Sorry, I just had to get that in.
Hi. Thank you all for being here. All right, leave us a comment and let us know what resonated today. Thank you. Bye, Summer.
Bye, Lizzie. Let's talk soon.